Hello, my friend. Stop for a moment. Listen to yourself. Does this feeling resonate deep within you? That sensation when your heart seems to race ahead of your mind? When the very first emotion, a fleeting attraction or a sudden aversion, washes over you, leaving you breathless, unable to truly see the genuine essence of things? How many times, tell me, have you been burned like a moth drawn to a deceptive flame by trusting that initial, vivid, yet oh so superficial impression? And how many times, conversely, have you walked right past your true happiness, your destiny, repelled by an outer shell, perhaps not the most appealing, behind which a treasure lay hidden? Do you ever feel how this endless whirlwind of opinions, judgments, instant reactions, your own and those of others, carries you further and further away from that quiet, peaceful harbor where your authentic self resides? We live in a world that glorifies speed, decisiveness, the ability to read people and situations in an instant. We're often told to trust our gut at first glance. But what if that celebrated gut feeling is actually just a tangled knot of our old fears, unconscious programming, childhood hurts, and societal stereotypes, whispering quick but deceptive answers to us? What if, in our rush for clarity, we unknowingly thicken the fog around us with our hasty conclusions? It's a paradox, isn't it? We yearn to see the world and people as they truly are, yet our own unexamined reactions become distorting mirrors, warping everything beyond recognition. We think we're showing character by delivering a like or dislike verdict in the first second. But in reality, we become hostages to our own, often unfounded emotional surges. And this haste, this habit of judging off the cuff, this is the invisible wall that separates us from a deep, genuine understanding of life. But what if I told you there's another way? That a key exists, capable of dissolving this fog and opening your eyes to true reality? This key, my friend, isn't some complex technique accessible only to a select few. It's something each of us possesses, yet so rarely uses consciously. It is the sacred pause. Yes, that very pause between stimulus and reaction, that precious moment when you choose not to succumb to the first impulse, but to look deeper. The profound truth, so often eluding our busy minds, is that true strength lies not in the speed of reaction, but in the depth of perception. Not in quickly slapping on a label, but in giving yourself time to truly see. Imagine a lake. When a storm rages on its surface, when waves crash and the water becomes murky, what will you see in its reflection? Only distorted, fragmented images, right? Your mind becomes just like that when it's seized by those first untamed emotions, attraction or aversion. Like a sudden gust of wind, they stir up your inner lake, and you can no longer see the clear water, the clear sky, or the true reflection of what you're looking at. These initial likes and dislikes are not a reliable compass pointing to truth, but rather an echo of your past experiences, your hidden fears, and your unconscious desires. They're like colored glasses you put on without noticing, and the whole world is instantly tinted in their hues. And what happens next? This first uncritically accepted emotion begins to shape your thoughts. If something immediately pleased you, your mind obligingly throws up arguments for it. If it caused rejection, it will instantly find a host of reasons to confirm it. And so your initial emotion, reinforced by these rational arguments, becomes even stronger. And the stronger the emotion, the narrower your vision becomes. The less you are able to notice nuances, the deeper you sink into the illusion of your initial judgment. It's a vicious cycle, my friend, that tightens its grip, turning a small spark of sympathy into blind adoration, and a slight dislike into consuming hatred. And then, what actually carries a hidden threat might seem incredibly attractive to you, simply because it stroked your ego or promised quick pleasure. And what could have been a source of true joy, growth, and support for you, you might reject, frightened by its unfamiliar form or failing to see its profound value behind a modest exterior. How many opportunities lost? How many wrong steps taken? So if you truly want this deceptive veil to fall from your eyes, if you yearn to see the world and people in their true light, You need to learn to manage this first impulse. When you see something with your own eyes or imagine it in your mind, make a conscious effort. Hold back, as much as possible, your desires. Do not allow yourself at first glance to either fall in love with this thing or to feel aversion towards it. Just look. Examine it dispassionately with your mind alone, as if you were an impartial researcher. It is in such a state, when the mind is not clouded by passion, that it regains its natural freedom and purity. It becomes capable of knowing the truth, of penetrating to the very essence of a thing, where, as we've said, evil often lurks beneath the most attractive and deceptive mask, and where true good, on the contrary, can be hidden under an unprepossessing and sometimes even repulsive appearance. But if your desire, your emotion, gets ahead of your reason and immediately either loves or hates the object of your attention, then your mind will no longer be able to know it as it truly is. This preconceived notion, this passion, having entered within, becomes a solid wall between your consciousness and reality. It colors everything in its own shades, forcing you to think about the thing as passion dictates, not as it is. And this, in turn, further intensifies the initial feeling. And the stronger it becomes, the thicker the darkness enveloping your mind, until it is completely blinded. And then that thing, that person, that idea seems to you either the most beautiful in the world or the most terrible, and you are no longer capable of objective assessment. Thus, both powers of your soul, your mind and your will, sink deeper and deeper from darkness into darkness, from one error to another. How then can you break free from this captivity of instant reactions and begin to see clearly? There is a way, my friend, and it begins with a few simple yet truly revolutionary steps that you can start practicing today. The first step is conscious observation. When something new appears before you, be it a person you've just met, a new idea, a suddenly arising situation, or even your own thought, take an internal step back. Don't rush. Just observe. Don't label it good or bad, like or dislike, mine or not mine. Imagine you are a scientist seeing an unknown phenomenon for the first time. Your task is not to evaluate, but to study. For example, you meet a new colleague at work. Instead of deciding in 5 minutes if they're your kind of person or not, just observe how they speak, what they say, how they carry themselves, what energy they exude. Don't jump to conclusions. The second step is to create a sacred space for reason. This is that very pause we talked about. Hold back your desire, your instant emotional reaction. Tell it gently but firmly. Wait, dear, I haven't seen everything yet. Give me a little time. Allow your mind, your ability to analyze and reflect, to come into play while it is still clear and pure, before it is clouded and distorted by the wave of first passion. For instance, you see an advertisement for a course promising instant wealth and happiness. Instead of immediately overcome by excitement, clicking the buy button, tell yourself, stop. Sounds tempting. Let me calmly study everything. Read independent reviews. Think if this is really what I need. The third step is to seek the essence, not just skim the surface. Learn to look deeper. Ask yourself, what is really here? What is the true nature of this phenomenon, this person, this offer? What is hidden behind this first, so bright or, conversely, so unremarkable impression? Always remember that what is most valuable is often modest and doesn't catch the eye, while what is most dangerous and destructive can be masked by the most charming and attractive facade. Imagine you're choosing a book. One has a bright, flashy cover with loud promises. The other is modest, inconspicuous. Don't rush to grab the first one. Look under the cover, read a few pages. Perhaps it is in the second that the wisdom you seek is hidden. And the fourth step is to check in with your inner compass and sources of true wisdom. When you have observed, created space for reason, and tried to look into the essence, turn to your deep intuition. Not to that superficial reaction we talked about, but to the quiet voice of your heart, to that inner knowing born of silence and mindfulness. If you feel the need for external advice, turn to those people whose judgment you value, whose lives are an example of wisdom and integrity for you. Turn to those books, teachings, practices that resonate with your soul and bring the light of knowledge, not just inflame emotions. This could be a wise mentor, an inspiring book, a meditation or prayer practice that helps you hear the voice of your own soul. The main thing is not to let your hasty likes and dislikes be your only advisors before you've had a chance to thoroughly examine the situation in the light of reason, in the light of your inner truth. Otherwise, you risk mistaking true good for evil and genuine evil for good. It so often happens that even the best intentions and holiest deeds performed at the wrong time, in the wrong place, or not in due measure, can cause considerable harm both to the doer and to others. The experience of many generations testifies to the troubles people have faced even from seemingly praiseworthy and righteous actions performed without due discernment. But my friend, there is another trap, no less insidious, that awaits us on the path to clarity of mind and inner strength. This is a trap into which even the most inquisitive and seeking mind can fall. If the first danger is ignorance born of passions, then the second is its apparent opposite, know-it-all-ism and empty curiosity. Have you ever noticed how easily we fill our minds with countless pieces of information, ideas, thoughts, and far from always useful ones? The flow of information today is endless. News, social media, endless articles, videos, other people's opinions. We consume all this, often without thinking why. And our mind, this amazing instrument given to us for knowing truth and self-improvement, turns into an overflowing attic, cluttered with all sorts of junk. In this informational noise, it becomes increasingly difficult to hear the quiet voice of our own soul, increasingly difficult to focus on what is truly important for our growth, for our path. When our mind is overloaded with a multitude of facts, impressions, trivial and often completely unnecessary or even harmful thoughts, it becomes weak and scattered. It loses its ability to penetrate deeply into the essence of things, to clearly distinguish what truly contributes to our real well-being and what only distracts and leads us astray. Imagine a computer with 100 programs open simultaneously. How will it work? Right. It will slow down, freeze, and you won't be able to effectively perform any task. So it is with our mind. Overloaded with external information, it loses its sharpness and insight. Therefore, my dear friend, you must cultivate a special attitude towards knowledge about worldly things, even those that seem quite permissible but are not vitally necessary for your spiritual path. Cultivate a certain detachment from them, as if these things no longer hold the same urgent sway over you. Always gather your mind inward as much as possible. Try to focus on your inner world, leaving it free from thoughts about all these endless worldly affairs and news. Let tales of the past and fresh news of current events fly past you. Let all the upheavals in the world and in the destinies of nations be as if they didn't exist for you at all. And when someone persistently tries to share the latest sensation with you or involve you in discussing empty rumors, gently but firmly decline, turn away from them, and banish them far from your heart and imagination. As one wise person of antiquity said, "Let the hearing of worldly news be a bitter taste to you, and the words of enlightened souls be like honeycomb." Heed this, and another ancient psalm echoes him. "Lawbreakers have told me of their trifles, but they are not your law, O Lord." In these words lies profound wisdom. Resolve then to pay attention only to what nourishes your soul, what uplifts your spirit, spiritual and celestial things. Study them, immerse yourself in them, and do not desire to know anything in this world except what leads you to your true self, to love, to compassion, to a deep understanding of life and death, and to what the universe, God, life, call it what you will, requires of you in each specific moment. What does this mean in practice? It means striving to understand your true values, your purpose, learning to live in harmony with yourself and the world, developing in yourself qualities of light, love, wisdom, patience, acceptance. By acting thus, you will be acting in accordance with that higher power that created all beings, and which especially favors those who love it and strive to do its will, the will of goodness, light, and creation. All other investigation, all other curiosity not directed towards this main goal, is a product and nourishment of our egoism, our self-love, and our pride. These are subtle but strong bonds and snares of those dark forces within us and without, which, seeing how strong and firm the will of a person striving for spiritual life can be, attempt to conquer their mind through this insatiable curiosity, in order to thus gain control over both mind and will. To this end, they often present our minds with lofty, subtle, astonishing thoughts, appearing so important and profound. And then the mind itself, this eye of our soul, with which a person could recognize and heal the pride of their will, is itself blinded by the pride of its all-knowingness and remains unhealed. And if the navigator is blind, where will the ship go? If the healer themselves is sick, who will heal their wounds and the wounds of the will? And then everything within becomes disordered, everything falls into chaos, and in such a way that there is nowhere and no one to apply a saving remedy. That is why, my friend, you must resist this destructive pride of the mind as soon as possible, before it penetrates to the marrow of your bones. How? Rein in the swiftness of your mind, its desire to know everything, to control everything, to have its own infallible opinion on everything. Humble it. Willingly submit your opinion to the opinion of those wiser than you, who have gone further on the path of spiritual development. Be willing to appear simple or even foolish in the eyes of this world if it helps you preserve purity of heart and approach true wisdom. For it is said, if anyone among you thinks they are wise in this age, let them become a fool so that they may become wise. This is not a call to abandon reason. No, it is a call to abandon intellectual arrogance, that self-satisfied know-it-allism that blocks the path to genuine, heartfelt knowledge. How then can you protect your inner garden from this flood of unnecessary information and maintain focus on what's most important, on what truly nourishes your soul? First, practice conscious information choices. Before diving into another news feed, article, or video, ask yourself honestly, will this information truly enrich me? Will it help me become kinder, wiser, more aware? Will it strengthen my spirit? Or is it just informational fast food that will only temporarily numb an inner emptiness, but ultimately clutter my mind and leave me feeling tired and unfulfilled? Learn to say no to informational junk, no matter how insistently it's offered. For example, instead of spending hours aimlessly browsing the internet, dedicate that time to reading a book that truly inspires you, or to connecting with a loved one, or simply to silence. Second, cultivate inner silence. As we've discussed, treat worldly hustle, endless news, and gossip as if they don't concern you. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent to the world's suffering. No. It means not allowing external turmoil to destroy your inner peace, from which alone true compassion and wise action can be born. Gather your mind inward. Find at least a few minutes during the day to be in silence, alone with yourself, without gadgets, without external stimuli. This could be a short meditation, a walk in nature, or just a few deep breaths with full attention to your state. Third, focus on core knowledge. Ask yourself, what is truly important to me in this life? What leads me to my purpose, to unlocking my potential, to my inner light? Resolve to learn precisely this. It could be self-knowledge, your strengths and weaknesses, your true desires and fears. It could be the study of universal laws of life, principles of harmony and love. It could be an in-depth study of how to live in accordance with your conscience, how to build healthy relationships, how to serve the good of others. Instead of trying to grasp the ungraspable and know a little about everything, choose what truly has deep meaning for you and delve into it. For example, instead of following all the political debates in all countries of the world, which only cause anxiety and a sense of powerlessness, you could dedicate time to studying principles of nonviolent communication to improve relationships in your family and at work. This will be knowledge that actually changes your life for the better. And fourth, practice intellectual humility. Beware of intellectual pride, my friend. Remember that knowledge not leading to love, compassion, and wise action is an empty sound, merely food for the ego. Always be ready to admit that you don't know everything, that your opinion might be wrong. Be open to learning from others, even if they seem less educated or advanced to you. True wisdom often comes in simplicity and humility, not in complexity and self-assurance. For example, in an argument, instead of trying to prove your rightness at all costs, try to truly hear the other person, to allow that there might be some truth in their words, and perhaps you will learn something new and important. You see, my friend, these two paths, the path of liberation from the power of blind emotions and the path of liberation from mental noise and intellectual pride, are deeply intertwined. Both lead to one thing, to clarity, to inner freedom, to the ability to see the truth and live in accordance with it. So what do you choose? Will you continue to be a puppet of your fleeting impressions and drown in the boundless ocean of unnecessary information? Or are you ready to take a step towards mindfulness, towards depth, towards genuine wisdom? Start today. Start right now. There's no need to wait for some special moment or sign. The first step is the most important. What first instinctive reaction will you observe today without blindly surrendering to it? What unnecessary information will you decide to ignore to make space in your mind and heart for something truly important? Imagine what your life will become when you learn to take the sacred pause, when your mind becomes clear and calm, like the surface of a mountain lake. Imagine how much energy, how much strength will be freed up in you when you stop wasting it on empty worries and useless fuss. You will gain the ability to see beauty where you didn't notice it before, to find wise solutions in the most difficult situations, to build deep and sincere relationships with people. Within you, my friend, lies an incredible, divine power, the power of a clear mind in a pure, loving heart. Don't let it lie dormant. Don't let passions and fuss drown out its voice. Allow it to manifest in its fullness. The path to freedom, peace, true understanding, and genuine joy of being is open before you. Take that first step, and another, and you will see how your life begins to change in the most wonderful way. Believe in yourself. Believe in your potential. You are capable of this.